Hi everyone, and thanks for joining the channel again. And I'm going to do some predictions about Brexit, Johnson, elections and all what's coming up for the UK in the coming months. Hi, thanks for joining me again. I know a lot of you have been asking me to make an update with my predictions, though you know most of what I've said already I still hold by. Some of it has already happened, some of it seems to be in the process of happening, so I hold by a lot of what I've already said. But I'll give you a few more ideas ahead about how I feel things are going to go. So let's just have a look at some of the highlights of what I've said, and I'll make a commentary to some of this too, so that we can get an overview of where we've come from and where we're going with this. I said Britain will leave the EU, predicting again, remember, in 2015 this is, and of course the Britain did leave the EU, even though everybody said it wouldn't happen. I think it's going to have other influences. You know, the European thing is going to be very high on the mind of the Scottish voters, for example. And I think the Tories are going to do very well indeed in Scotland, and Ruth Davidson is going to catch the Scottish people's imagination a bit more. In fact, I predict that there will be a new party that will not be called Labour. It may be called something like a similar thing. My feeling is it will be called something like Democrats or something like that, or a similar sort of name. I think we're going to see something where there's going to be accusations about Russia interfering in both the French and the British elections by trying to influence people through Facebook. And all the way through I've been saying it's going to be a hard Brexit, it's going to be a hard Brexit. So I'm sticking with what I've said up to now, and I still feel it's a hard Brexit. Even though they're trying to make all these different deals and give these other ideas about how it's going to go, give us alternatives, I think it's going to be taken right to the wire. But on this prediction, I want to say there will be no Irish border. And what I mean by that is, my feeling is what's going to happen is where they just can't get a deal on the Irish border, my feeling is that the British government are going to turn around and just say, well, leave the border open. You've got more to lose than we have. We'll just let goods flow into Europe through Northern Ireland. And I feel that it will be Europe that decides there has to be something put in place. Theresa May will resign after March, so we're talking about this sort of battle going on, and it's in April time of 2019. In the end, I feel Boris Johnson will become the leader of the Tory party. We've had a change of leadership in the Tory party, and I feel quite soon after that we'll have another general election. Great. So 2019 sees perhaps the new general election being called late in that year. Perhaps we're talking about September time or something like that, or we're looking at maybe calls for it to happen in 2020, but certainly I feel that it's if Boris Johnson now has to reaffirm himself as the front runner in the Tory party, and that he's been elected, not just hoisted upon us. We're going to see Corbyn still in power, which is going to be and reaffirming his power and getting stronger within the Labour Party. Despite at 2018 we're getting all sorts of problems about anti-Semitism and things like that, they're going to go far left. So it's going to be a four-horse race between this new party that will evolve at the same time. Now, back in 2018, I predicted that Theresa May would resign. In fact, I actually predicted it in the original predictions around 2017 when the election happened. I seem to have got that right. I also seem to have got it right that Boris Johnson will be the front runner, and it does seem that he will be the next Prime Minister. So my predictions there still hold, and I do feel that Brexit is not going to be quite the problem that everybody thinks it is. There won't be any medical shortages, there won't be chaos, there will be some difficulties, but we'll be over them quite quickly. So I'm running still with my original prediction that there would be no problems. And I said all this 2 years ago, and 2 years ago I said also that Boris Johnson would be Prime Minister, didn't I? And it looks like that's on track too.
because he is the front runner at the moment. So I hold by that. Boris Johnson will be the UK Prime Minister.
Now, Sajid Javid, I feel, is going to become the next Chancellor. It's going to be a toss-up between him and Jacob Rees-Mogg, but I feel Sajid Javid will become the spokesman, the right-hand man, really, I suppose, of Johnson. Also because he's also very good at expressing himself in a controversial environment where there's a lot of conflict. Jacob Rees-Mogg is going to be a major player in the new government as well. There's going to be a few surprises too, I feel. Michael Gove, the enemy of Boris Johnson, really, who stabbed him in the back, his Judas, his Horatio, he is going to be in the cabinet, I feel, in a fairly dominant role. Now, the main thing that Johnson's going to do is he's going to consolidate the Tory party. Now, this is a big deal to have to do, but he's going to have to push it far to the right, really. I feel he's going to succeed in this, and everybody's still screaming, thinking it's all going to fall to bits, but I feel he will pull them together. His main style is going to be directly talking to the people. It's not going to be so much in the interview stance. It's not going to be doing tweeting like Donald Trump does. But I feel there's going to be a lot of sort of addresses from Boris Johnson, almost Churchillian, a bit like Churchill would have done, where he addresses the people. We are in a moment of danger. So even as I speak today, things are going so fast in politics in Britain at the moment that it's hard to keep abreast of the news. It seems to be changing so quickly. So at the time I'm speaking, it's uncertain whether there's going to be an election or not. My feeling is that there will be an election. I feel the Tories will win this election. They will take a lot of the Labour strongholds. I mean, Labour will make a very strong attempt to get into power again. They will appeal to the young vote, and I think they will get a lot of the young vote as well, because young people haven't seen socialist policies before, really. They've been so pushed to the back burner that very few have had this idea of nationalising things, of focus on industry and the basic socialist agenda. And so I feel that there will still be a certain, love of Labour, but I feel that the long-term Labour supporters are going to be pushed away from Labour because of the Brexit problem and because of the dithering, because May and Corbyn have both dithered so much that people have become exasperated with the whole idea of these dithering politicians who won't say what they mean. So Labour, I think, will have problems. Liberals will do very well, actually, because they will get the Remain vote. They won't come into power. They won't get close to come into power, but I feel they will be actually neck and neck with Labour in many seats around the country, and may take quite a few seats, some from Labour. And they will split the Remain vote. I also see another new party emerging. Now, you remember I spoke about the coming of the Farage's new party before, and I predicted this would happen. I predicted there'd be a new party. But I still have this feeling also that there's a brand new party, as it were. We did start to see this happening for a while, and it kind of fizzled out. But we're going to get, I feel, a new party. People like Ken Clarke, who may retire from politics soon, or be, I feel, but retire, but kind of be someone in the background for the formation of a new party, almost like the way a chairman is part of a company. So I feel people like Ken Clarke and Tony Blair and John Major, these type of figureheads, are going to come together kind of in the background to help a new party form that is both Labour and Tory. We're going to see a lot of defections from the Labour Party at the time of the election. We've already seen them happening in the Conservative Party, but I say it's going to also happen in the Labour Party. So there's going to be some very interesting sudden resignations at the time, critical times of elections. So the Scottish National Party, yes. So the Scottish National Party, I feel, will do well in the general election that's coming up. They'll hold many seats and take many more, and the Conservatives will have embarrassments there in Scotland. However, I do feel that this is the last of the Scottish National Party's triumphs, because once Brexit's happened and we've left Europe, I feel that the Scottish National Party's ability to gain and retain votes and give a credible way of making Scotland independent will become more and more difficult. And I do feel that voters will eventually desert them for better domestic policies and more stronger economic policies for Scotland. So Scotland will be independent in its own way, in terms that it has its own jurisdictions and it has its own legal systems and it has a lot more control and power. But I do not feel Scotland will be a completely independent country ever. Okay, so that's, sorry to those that are the Scots there. I know you get upset when I say that, but that's my feeling that I've had right from the start with this. And you know, I'm fallible though, I might get it wrong, you know, so I'm not saying that everything I get right is right, but I did seem to see, and I remember I also saw more scandals coming up in my previous videos about that I made for this year, that I feel there's some more scandals ahead within the Scottish National Party after all that problems with salmon and people. Okay, so Farage is another one that we're going to need to look at. I feel that Nigel Farage is going to field candidates for the election. He's not going to pull out, but I do feel he's going to do a deal with the Tories. He's going to keep the pressure on. He's going to demand things still, but there's going to be a deal, and it might be quite late, almost last minute, where they decide to only field candidates in seats that where they're not in competition with the Tories, as it were. So they're going to go out and try to, let's split up the vote between them. So Farage will say, you know, I'll stand in so and so, my party will stand in this state, but this town, but you know, the Conservatives won't. So they'll divide it up. They'll do a pact. They'll do a deal, so that they can guarantee Brexit. And Farage will be rewarded for this by given a certain amount of influence and power. This would be decided in advance, and may even become part eventually, I feel, of the Tory party. He will have some certain sort of control over the exit process and the trade deals with Europe. So they will kind of join forces, because again, Farage, this is the last stand of the Farage phenomena. But that's not the end of him. We're going to see him doing new things, and I feel we're going to see him working with the Conservatives to guarantee a Brexit. And I feel this has all been decided in advance. So much with politics, we think that we know what's going on, don't we? But there's all the behind the scenes things. These people have all not. So many of these people in politics have come out of a legal system, haven't they? So they're like people, they do deal like the you know, the lawyers always do the deals on the golf course, and when it gets to court it's all kind of decided. You know, that's the way it feels anyway, and I think this is the way it's been going in the background, because there's been a lot of problems in the world, and I feel that they've been sorting them out behind the scenes. We don't get a say in it at the end of the day. And so there's going to be a hard Brexit. And I said this right back in my first predictions about this in 2014, I think it was. I made my first predictions that there would be a Brexit, and that Brexit would, and some of the things that would happen. So I've been talking also about hard Brexit right from the very start, that Europe will never do a deal with us, never do a proper deal with us. And right at the very end, right when the whole thing has got to the point of absolute desperation, they'll do some deals. And these will probably be world trade style deals, rather than ever do a climb down on the problems with the Irish border and so forth. So, and remember, in my earlier predictions, I predicted that there would be an Irish border problem, you might remember. Back in 2015, I made that prediction. I get some things wrong too, mind you, but that was an interesting one, because I didn't understand at the time what I was saying when I said Ireland will be the problem, and gosh, it did, didn't it? Anyway, so after all this happens, I feel there will be a crash in the euro. Now, this is something that is not anticipated by any of the financial institutions, as far as I'm aware. But I feel that Europe is going to act as the whole European Brexit business is going to act as a sort of catalyst to bring to the fore many problems that are arising in Europe. The Italian banking problem that I started to talk about some years ago, I feel is starting to come up now. It's going to be a problem. They're going to find problems with cash fluidity or whatever it is, you know. And I also feel that there's the kind of people are masking the problems in Germany because they've spoken actually about a recession, and I talked about this some time ago, that there's a German recession. There's a worldwide bit of a slowing down, but I feel Germany has a lot of problems ahead because its export markets both to the UK and to China are going to be very, very severely affected, and I see the German economy getting into trouble. In fact, I've spoken about Angela Merkel leaving Angela Merkel leaving politics, and she did kind of make some news about that this year, and you know, I predicted it over a year ago. So I see her going before the end of 2019. So this may be triggered by the whole Brexit thing. She's going to leave someone else to do the final negotiations over all that. After the election, also Corbyn is replaced. I've talked about who will replace him and some of the things about the Labour Party in some of my other videos, so go and watch those if you want to see that. I don't want to go over everything again. But also the pound will bounce back. I've said this before, there's going to be a strong pound after Brexit. It's really going to go right as extraordinarily jump with the pound once the uncertainty's taken out the way. This was something I was talking about before, but simultaneously we're seeing the euro drop. So I'm off on holiday soon, and I'm off at the wrong time because I have faith in the fact that we'll be all right getting back home. If I get my predictions wrong, you know, you see me at the airport, give me a lift please. But no, I feel that we're going to be okay, all of us, with the transport situation. And I feel that we're going to see some further problems with the euro and possibly a euro crash. It's not complete meltdown, but serious drops in the euro. And I'm just looking at I've got a little list in front of me here. So those are the main things that I feel I want to talk about here. I'm going to make a lot more predictions soon. I'm going to do my full predictions for 2020. So if you've got topics that you'd like me to cover, please put them in the comments below. I'm going to try to do some more international ones because we've got a lot of problems ahead in the world generally. I spoke about South Africa problems, didn't I? So I'm going to do more international ones, as well as UK, and as well, of course, as America. So put your questions please in the comments below, and do please follow this channel. You click the little bell and you'll get updates, because I'm going to make a lot of prediction videos very shortly, and as soon as I'm back from vacation. So there we go. So and if you really do enjoy listening to me talking, my wife doesn't, but if you enjoy listening to me talking, I'm also producing some Audible books soon on Amazon, and I'm going to put some of my books on there. We're in the process of making it at the moment. It takes a little while to get it out there, but keep an eye open for that. And if you enjoy my books, and you enjoy anything about about the afterlife and predictions and all that, have a look at my book, Messages from the Universe. I do plug this quite a lot, but this is my book about the future and what happens in the future, in particularly my own personal life, why I got so interested in the future. You know, the work Jane and I did when we were on television predicting next week's News Today with Bob Geldof's wife, Paula Yates. And also my involvement in spiritualism and the things that the spirit world told me about the future. And also, of course, the Indian Nadi oracles, which are absolutely, totally and completely mind-blowing. You know, so it's all in there. It's one of my favourite books. It makes a great Christmas present coming up if you're thinking about those sort of things for people. And of course, all my other ones as well, if you enjoy it. So, and my book. And my film, of course, is still out there on Amazon, Mystic Journey to India, which follows up on that story, and you can get that on Amazon Prime. If you're a Prime member, you can get it for nothing. So anyway, that's the advert. So keep
following the channel, folks, and I'll see you next time. So, see ya. Bye for now.